Hi, it's Kai. Today we are going to be doing a Chatty Get Ready With Me life update video because it's been a few months since I just sat in front of my makeup desk and talked and did my makeup and such, and I just feel like updating you guys on the very obvious changes that have been going on in my life, but also things that have been happening in the background. So anyway, without further ado, we're gonna stop the chatter just to get into more chatter, essentially. And the first biggest change, at least visually to me, is the fact that in the past few months, I would say the past 3 to 4 months, I have actually been wearing my glasses a lot more, but that means to do my makeup, I've got to take them off. So I do apologize in advance if I am a little bit blurry. I'll try to make sure to check in every few minutes or so and like readjust the focus. But again, if it's blurry, then that's essentially what it's like to do makeup through my eyes when I don't have my contacts in. But anyway, we're gonna take them off, and I also may be a little bit in and out of frame. What I'll try to do from here on out is maybe if I'm doing more tutorial or technique based videos, just wear my contacts. But if I am doing chatty videos or any other type of videos, still wearing my glasses. Part of this change comes from, I guess, a few different areas. One of the areas that this change comes from is just depression in general. As you guys know, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but I've also already discussed it and talked about it on TikTok, which is another beast to talk about entirely at this point. But I did finally move out of the Roach apartment. Yes, we are out of that situation and I am in my new apartment. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But just being in that situation in general, as I've talked about multiple times, it made me not want to film. It made me not want to wear makeup and just not be very interested in my appearance at all, because I just felt like I was literally fighting a war, not only against bugs, but against my old apartment management, which was MAA, Mid-America Apartments. I cannot stress enough. I would highly recommend, if you're looking at one of their apartments, they might look nice on the outside, but they are definitely the definition of like landlord special. You're getting what you pay for, even if it looks like it's, again, nice on the outside. They call them luxury apartments, but they are not luxury at all. And I have done a video. I posted about it earlier in that whole debacle, but I can also do a whole video dedicated to my entire experience renting from them. Because unfortunately, the roach issues and pest issues and the management's inability to deal with them and incompetency, those were far from the only issues I experienced living there. And I have like all of it documented as well, because I, as someone who is a trained accountant and very, what is that called? I love a good paper trail. Also, my lips are feeling a bit dry. The weather is so cold here in Georgia, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of lip balm on until I get to my lips, because they were feeling so dry and uncomfortable even after drinking water. Anyway, do I want to use a palette today? I feel like I should. You know what? Let's use the, in honor of bankruptcy, I guess no longer going out of business, but bankruptcy still isn't great. We'll use my Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette, even though I feel like I've used this palette on my channel so many times already. It's beautiful though, look at it. I kind of feel like doing something maybe with some of the purple today. Let's see. I don't know why I'm feeling, maybe because it's a Thursday, you know, Jupiter day, feeling very royal. But as I was saying, I was not doing my makeup a lot because I was dealing with that whole debacle. And also, I'm not gonna lie, because it was happening primarily, or a lot of the infestation was in my bathroom, as I've talked about before, it was really difficult to keep up with my hygiene the way that I wanted to. So I was just not wanting to spend a lot of time in in the bathroom, which meant I didn't want to double cleanse my skin, didn't want to wear makeup. And also it meant that because of that, and I always struggled with my contacts and like falling asleep in them, taking naps in them and stuff like that, which is really bad for you. And you're not supposed to do that at all. But especially during this time, it got really, really bad because I was just kind of like, I don't want to not be able to see in this, area. But then I was just kind of like seeing so many things about how terrible it is to sleep in your contacts or to like wear them all the time. Even if you have the dailies like I do and you just switch them out, it's still not a good thing for you to be doing. Let's see if we can do some purple. I hope it doesn't end up looking more like black eye-ish because sometimes purple does look that way on me. And this is a very eggplanty purple, so it's not pulling too many, like it has some red tones but not pulling a lot. But I was seeing so many videos about how bad it is for your eye health to do that, and so it just started scaring me more and more. And I was like, you know what, I'll just wear my glasses all the time. And I unfortunately have like showered with them. I'll wash my hair with my glasses on until I can get completely comfortable even in a new place, because something like an infestation definitely is going to give you trauma and PTSD if you, especially if you are, not even just if, but especially if you're someone who already is prone to those conditions, which I am. Fun fact. So right now I'm still dealing with, even though this apartment has been leap and bounds better in that respect, I am still slightly, not as much, it's definitely getting better and better, but like when I'm in the shower, still looking around every corner or like looking behind me on the toilet and stuff. It's just, it sucks. It's definitely something that I feel like is mentally draining to deal and put up with. All I have to say is that I'm happy to be in a new place. And even though this place isn't perfect, it's definitely one of the older style of apartments. I have a black refrigerator, but hey, it doesn't have bugs in it. And that again is a step up. I'd rather have a black refrigerator and no bugs than have a stainless steel, again, luxury apartment and be battling a roach infestation or any type of ant infestation, all of those things. So again, I'm very glad to be out of that situation. Okay, the lighting might have changed a little bit because I turned on my light in front of me just to make sure that it's blending as much as I possibly can blend it without seeing very much. But again, I've been wearing my glasses all the time still, even though I'm out of that situation, as my body, I guess, somatically calms down from being in that situation. That being said, I've also just gotten a lot more comfortable with the way that I look, both without makeup and with my glasses. I started wearing glasses, I think, around the first grade, and it was at a time where, kids made fun of you for having glasses. And I specifically remember my gifted teacher, or what do we call it? Some people, I think, called it the GATE program or GACE whatever it was called in your area. But I was a part of that, and the teacher, I remember, pulled me aside because I had glasses. I was supposed to be wearing them, and I came to her class without them. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Actually, let me get an even smaller, more detailed brush. But I came to class without them. She pulled me aside and basically was like, "Why don't you have your glasses?" And I was like, "Oh, I forgot them. It's okay. My prescription isn't that bad. I can still see the board," even though I was literally like squinting, being in the second row. And she basically said something to the degree of, if you don't wear your glasses because other people are going to pick on you or whatever the case may be, you're going to continue to ruin your eyesight. And eventually those people who made fun of you will move on with their lives, and you will have poor eyesight that you'll be paying like the insurance and for glasses and things more and more to fix. And so I started wearing my glasses, and then I was a softball player. I played sports growing up, but especially with softball, like I used to have these goggles and the little string attached to them, and I would still somehow find a way, especially because I pitched. So I would find a way for those things to be like coming off my face. I don't know what's going on with the shadow today, but it is separating so freaking bad. Holy moly. Like, do you guys see that? What? I don't feel like these shadows have ever done that. But then again, I guess I haven't really used that purple all the way all over. This kind of looks really bad. Kind of the good thing about wearing my glasses more is that even when my makeup looks bad, the lens distorts it a little bit. So you can't really tell it's that bad. I'm gonna see if maybe adding, like, I'm maybe a little experimental, but adding this red will do anything. I also don't know if it's this eyeshadow primer, because I just feel like I've noticed with this primer versus the one that I have previously used, which was the Milani one, and the one that I'm currently finishing up is the e.l.f. one, the Shadow Lock Eyelid Primer, which I think they discontinued this one anyway to bring out another one. This one, I feel like I've noticed more than with other eyeshadow primers that the eyeshadows don't all like agree with them very well, if that makes sense. Anyway, we're gonna try taking this red shade. This could be an utter mess and something that I will want to redo, or it will save it. I'm kind of leaning towards it saving it a little bit. I kind of like this purple and the red together for like a Valentine's Day shift to it. I might have to rework this to figure out how to make it good for a little Valentine's Day look. Again, I feel like it could be something, but those shadows were just being so patchy, like specifically up, and even still, from what I can tell, and if I can tell without my glasses on, then it's probably pretty bad. Is there just any way that I can pack the shadow on so that it's not patchy right there? That is one thing that I would love to get though for my apartment, since we're talking about new apartments and stuff, is a bigger mirror so that I can have a mirror like behind me, a full-size mirror behind me, and then a smaller one up front, and then I can maybe bring my camera like somewhere or film into the camera so that I can be a little bit closer to it and not be ducking out of frame and looking down, or even just a mirror that's a little bit taller than the one that I have. And I used to see those types at TJ Maxx all the time, especially during the holiday season. I'm just gonna try to wipe that like bit that just isn't cooperating off. Oh, you know what? It actually might not be the primer. It might be the brow gel. My brow gel might be too sticky and it's causing the eyeshadow. Oh, so maybe I need to start doing my brows. Because you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, when I do my brows after my complexion, I haven't noticed eyeshadow being as patchy. So maybe that is what the issue is, that it's getting gunked in my eyebrow product instead. Anyway, like I was saying before, talking about my apartment more, I feel as though I've just gotten really used to, from not wearing as much makeup. Let's see, 10 seconds left. Let me just restart the clip. But I feel like just from not wearing a lot of makeup over the last year, I've gotten so much more comfortable with what I look like, because while I've always maintained that makeup was less about me looking good. Like in the early years of doing makeup, as many of us got into it, it was because, oh, the other girls are doing it. We wanted to fit in. We wanted to look like other girls. Like there was a certain aspect of approval, whether it was for like, oh, I want to feel prettier or want to feel like other girls, and other girls are feeling prettier by this. But there was also an aspect to me that I was always drawn to it. Like I remember stealing my mom's makeup before other kids were wearing makeup. I remember wearing a full face or close to a full face of like the play makeup little kits, you know, that your parents would get you when you're a little kid. And I would have like the blush on, the lipstick, the eyeshadow, and my dad would just kind of let it happen because I was a little bit of a diva as a kid. And I remember once going to school again and a teacher telling me like, you've got to wash that off your face. I don't know, your mom would not want you to be wearing that at school. And I was just kind of like, well, my dad let me wear it. And they were like, yeah, because your dad probably doesn't understand why you shouldn't be wearing it. Anyway, I'm gonna go and steal a smudge stick, do a little bit of black liner, because I feel like this is heavy enough to necessitate some some black liner. And then let me get another smudge brush and blow it out so it's not a harsh line, because I used to wear, since we're talking about how my younger self stole makeup when I first started with makeup, I was definitely like a black or a dark brown eyeliner, since I wasn't allowed to wear black at first, but just rimmed, just straight line, as straight as you could get it all the way around my eye. Now I like something, you know, a little bit smoky, a little bit blown out, less harsh. See, and then when you put on your glasses, I feel like, let me turn this off so that there's a little less glare, but I feel like everything with glasses, especially if you're someone who has thicker frames like these, it just ends up looking not quite as, I guess, dramatic. And again, you can't really see your errors. Anyway, as I got more used to how I looked without makeup, my self-esteem naturally got higher, not wearing makeup, even though, again, I always saw it as an art form. I started watching YouTube, like beauty videos, before I was even allowed to wear makeup, because I loved makeup artistry so much. Like, I probably am a celebrity makeup artist in another parallel universe where I allowed myself to explore that more. But again, especially growing up in the era that I did, makeup and beauty definitely was at first something that was like, oh, enhance your beauty, make yourself more beautiful than like an art form necessarily. And I feel like especially beauty YouTube and those early, you know, MUA stuff like that, who are doing tutorials. Yes, again, there was still that focus on this is how you're supposed to do your makeup to make it look the best for your eye shape, your face shape, whatever it is. But it also just became a corner of the internet for the girlies somewhat. And then, of course, 2016 makeup just boomed, and, you know, I could have more thoughts about the correlation between all of those things if I had more time to think about them than just kind of being in a more rambly video like this. But again, I just got more comfortable with how I looked without makeup. And even I mentioned in my last video, my empties, that part of the reason, or no, it wasn't empties, it was my project pan, that part of the reason that I haven't filmed a lot on my channel is because I'm just like, oh, do people care about makeup and beauty if the person isn't wearing makeup in the video? Is anyone gonna watch? Does anyone care? Because it's just like, I understand somewhat judging a book by its cover and being like, oh, why would I watch someone's makeup video if they're not wearing makeup more consistently? But I also feel as though those are the people we should start following, because it's just like, I feel like it can be a more realistic representation, or what I would hope eventually becomes a more realistic representation of makeup, and it not being for, you know, other people and being more for yourself and ritualizing it. Again, I feel like I would have much more rigid, and not even rigid, thoughts that aren't super scattered and aren't conveying the way that I think, or I don't think that they're conveying the way that I want them to, just because when I'm doing my makeup and just kind of rattling thoughts off the top of my head as I'm talking about other things. But again, all that is to say, I've just gotten more comfortable with the way that I look without makeup, and I am going to try to still stay consistent with filming, even if it's not makeup videos. I also want to do more fragrance on here, because that's, again, another aspect I wanted to talk about with social media. I am just at a place where I don't really know what to do / what I necessarily want to do anymore. I, to a certain extent, have been feeling more called to make more long form content, because I do feel short form content really rots the brains out of a lot of people. And as a society, we've lost the ability to have a certain level of patience. And it's not just short form content that does that, but I think it contributes to that. And then I also started thinking about the fact that even on short form platforms like TikTok, which is now becoming more and more, like after its sale to Oracle, you know, basically everyone is contemplating, am I going to stay here? Am I going to leave? Is this just going to be a ghost town? And that's where I'm at too, because again, as I was saying, my short form content has always been longer, or a lot of it is longer than 1 to 3 minutes anyways. I have 5 to 10 minute videos. And so part of me is just like, why not just make long form content, even if that long form content isn't 30 or 40 minutes long? But then I get into my head feeling like, oh, do people expect short form or long form content? Like, what is the happy medium between that and then into all of the algorithmic stuff and the games that you have to try to play to get yourself out there? It's just, bah. I'm already a person who's never really liked to play those games, which is why I've always grown my platform super slowly. And because TikTok was one of the first platforms where I was really able to amass good momentum and a following on it, it's really difficult for me to just be like, okay, I want to focus more on YouTube or focus more, you know what I'm saying? But also it's just like, is there any, if the platform is in its death rattle, essentially it's dying gasp because of everything going on with it, does it make sense to even invest any more time with it when it's just like, I could just be over here making my videos and going on about my business without as much of the extra drama? And then I just have never really been an Instagram person. The only time that my Instagram ever really caught traction was during 2020, and we all know why. There was, in my opinion, this collective white guilt of like, and not even just white guilt, but also white adjacent guilt. People who may also be people of color, but have as a large, or their communities overall, have been more interested in assimilation versus, you know, us all having equal rights and us all being treated fairly. I feel like it was mainly the guilt from that that made people be like, oh, I need to seek out more queer content creators or specifically Black content creators, but especially Black queer marginalized content creators. And then once it stopped being popular to care about that, especially on Instagram, once people were getting even astroturfed or their accounts, and I'll admit there was a period where I just wasn't really consistent with Instagram, but it was because I started seeing that happen. And also it's just like, do we not remember that Instagram was one of the first apps to start prying a little bit more, or Facebook, Meta overall, prying more into our information and like the permissions and stuff like that? So it's just like, so many people are like, oh, I'm leaving TikTok, but here's my IG handle. And it's just kind of like, well, weren't we all supposed to be deleting our Instagram? I never deleted mine. I have memories across mine that admittedly I do want to hold on to, and that's the only reason. I'll eventually get around to maybe archiving those memories. And I also understand on like the content creation end of things, there's people who are just like, hey, I make money as a content creator, maybe they're a full-time content creator, whatever the case is, and they're just kind of like, I gotta go onto platforms where I can make money. You know, people are talking about, oh, go to Red Note. Well, the chances for certain creators who are already more lucrative with the deals they're getting, it might not be conducive for them to essentially start over on a new platform. And I know everyone's going to be like, well, you should be in it for the love of it and not necessarily for the money. But it's just unrealistic to expect someone to conk out hours and hours worth of entertaining, educational, whatever end of the spectrum it is for you, content for you to consume. Not my other light going off, oh well, and they're not getting anything back for it. And I know people are like, oh, well, it started off when YouTube first started off, it wasn't like that, da da da. Like, can we just admit that the landscape has changed? And again, it's one thing if you want casual creators who aren't getting paid, but you're also going to get what, like people, I don't think remember, and as someone who does remember early YouTube, how infrequent, yes, it seems like there was just endless content content, but like if you found a certain creator that you really liked, I, for instance, loved those Sims 2 like story music videos, all of those that people would make with the mods and stuff. I loved those down. Literally would be watching those for hours and hours. But people have forgotten that also your favorite creator, like you had to bounce around to a lot of different creators, a lot of different videos. You had to watch bad videos that you didn't even really like in order to find those creators. And also, sometimes you had to rewatch some stuff that, because people in the beginning weren't getting paid for any of this, it was a hobby. It was something that they did with their spare time. And in a world where people need to work nearly 24/7 and don't have a lot of spare time for things that don't involve making money, like it's something that there is a bigger societal conversation surrounding influencing and who gets paid, who's able to make certain types of content. And sometimes, again, when I see certain types of being both a consumer of content and a creator of it, I can see both ends of the coin. However, I use that to guide it, and I've done videos about this in the past. I use that more so to guide my own personal behavior as far as what creators I would like to support, rather than making these blanket statements of everyone is always trying to sell you something and no one is honest and all of that type of thing. But again, people forget or don't realize, because they weren't there at the beginnings of the internet, that you used to have to actively seek out what type of content you wanted to watch. It didn't just pop up to you on a feed, you know what I'm saying? So all that is to say, I don't know what I want to do. I'll probably suss out how things are over there, but don't be surprised if there's a lot more. And I have for a while. It's just sometimes difficult in my mind for me to like part or decompartmentalize. Like, this platform is where I do mostly fragrance. Like, that was what I was doing, the majority fragrance and just kind of random thoughts over there. And then on YouTube, it was very much more like beauty centered. And sometimes I talk about books, and then I have Chatty get ready with me's and babbling. But it's just sometimes you can see so clearly that people aren't interested in that. It's not, you know, and then there's also the aspect, and I probably shouldn't go on like the beauty guru and beauty subreddits that often, but like seeing the attitude of some people on there and how they discount creators for the smallest things, it definitely makes you feel like, okay, well, is someone going to dislike me? And I know that it comes down to me just not caring about that stuff and posting anyway. But it's just like, I've seen so many people are like, oh, once they start doing more Chatty get ready with me's or commentary content, I'm out, or I don't want to hear them talk about books and da da da. And it's just like, okay, you don't necessarily have to watch the video. Or again, maybe you're a person who should watch a video about books from a content creator that you already enjoy their content of, because it might open up your mind to like other things. It might open up your mind to a version of them that you did. I don't know. It's just, there's that aspect of feeling like, you know, you have to put yourself in a box or a niche, even if you don't want to. Like, as much as fragrance is beauty as well, or beauty related, again, it just feels like, and sometimes with fragrance, it's easier to pop out a little 2 or 3 minute video about one fragrance versus being like, okay, do I just upload a 3-minute long form video? Or you like, if you would like that, I genuinely want to hear in the comments your thoughts. If you are a subscriber or thinking about subscribing to me, or have been watching me and not subscribed, and you just maybe have a lot of opinions on the type of content you watch or want to watch, like, I want to know how you feel about that, because it's just, no one wants to make and post things on the internet that they feel like other people aren't going to watch, you know? And I don't want to make things that other people aren't going to watch. I want to make videos that are helpful or useful or at least entertaining or educational or just add something to someone's life. I sometimes feel as though, again, if I want to make videos that people are going to see, then it's just like, oh, niche down. If you're doing too many things, then people don't know what to expect from you. And it's like, why can't I just not be a human being? Why can I not just be someone who is multifaceted? And one day I want to talk about my roller skating journey, and one day I want to do makeup, and one day I want to talk, you know, and get ready with me. It feels sometimes, again, as a very multifaceted individual, that I have to dumb myself down, and not dumb myself down in the intellectual way, but just dull who I am in order to appease the game makers, if that makes any type of sense. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts on, you know, is any content from the creator that you like or someone that you want to see more of okay, or is it just, you know, shut up and talk about makeup? I think I've got to go with a more less bold lip. I think I'm gonna do more of like a nude little number as we round out the end of my makeup in this video. I also wanted to talk very briefly about the fact that even though I am in a new apartment and in a new place, it has not been all, you know, sunshine and roses. And I can also talk about this separately, again, in a chatty get ready with me, just about having obsessive compulsive disorder. But moving when you have obsessive compulsive disorder is one of the most disorienting experiences of your life, and it sucks. As much as I have experienced relief from this new apartment, I have also cried so much being in here just because of not having a certain level of familiarity that I had in the place that I was living for over 3 years previously. Then there's the fact that I had an experience, I don't know what it was, if it was a stray or a feral cat outside, but I was in my bedroom, I think it was like Sunday this past, either Saturday, it might have been Saturday, this past Saturday. And I was in my bedroom, and one of my cats was in the bedroom with me. The other one, my firstborn, Gingy, she was staring out in the living room, or she was out in the living room. And I just heard her start growling and just like have this very low guttural, again, growl, yowl. And then I hear like banging against the glass of my window, and she's still growling and like I had never heard her make those noises like that before, ever. And so I came out and she was again in the window, just looking real all puffed up, hair stood up on the back of her neck. And my other cat followed me out, Callie, she followed me out into the living room, and when Gingy saw her, just went off. And so I looked it up, and it's called, I think, reactive or redirected aggression. And basically, if they see something or get startled by something outside and they can't get to it, they'll turn on the nearest thing. So she turned and like attacked my other cat, and then when I was trying to get them apart, she attacked me. And even after she had calmed down, like I looked online, it said give some time to separate them. I separated them for like half a day, and when I had unseparated them, it happened again, like the growling, the attacking. I literally have puncture wounds on my leg right now, so I'm having to reintroduce them. Like they've been living together for 3 years at this point. I'm having to reintroduce them as if they are complete strangers to each other. Only one of them gets to sleep in the bed with me, and it's just been like, it sucks. Those are my babies, and I don't like having them separated, but like it was very scary. And I now have a very different view of like cat fights, cat injuries. Like cats can do definitely just as much damage as a dog if you let them. So it's not something that should be taken lightly. So I've had to, you know, spend more money to get like something to block off part of the window so that they can't stare at anything directly. They can only see things from like a higher up vantage point, and it's just been a lot of stress, and it was really scary. I'm about to buy, just to keep them from having like a whole bunch of territorialness and stuff like that, basically $500 in microchip feeders because they don't like wearing collars. So the RFID ones aren't as good, and like the microchip ones are $250 a piece. I'm doing that. Do I have the money to do that right now? Necessarily no, but it's like, if that's what's going to keep the peace, so that my cats, because they had, of course, separate bowls and everything, but it was the same feeder, you know, a little tower and then 2 bowls on either side. So I don't want them to have any food aggression issues once they are able to come back together. Again, they're at the point, before I sat down to film this, they were under the, what do you call it, playing patty cake with each other's hands. So I've heard and read online, because I've been reading online, watching Jackson Galaxy's videos, like literally doing the whole 9. These are my kids, you guys. But according to those resources, it might be time for them to eat on other sides of a barrier. I don't currently have a gate, which again, it's just like all of this stuff is really expensive. And after moving and just financially, like, it's really difficult right now. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. Being a single person in this economy, trying to take care of themselves, in especially, I again don't want to bitch too much about the TikTok stuff, but like I went from at least being able to pay, you know, my light bill, my gas bill with my TikTok earnings, to barely being able to get a meal out of what I'm earning. So it's definitely, again, been financial pressure of somewhat, but it's just kind of what is happening currently, and it is what it is. You know, maybe one day I'll be monetized on here. And again, while I'm hoping to be more consistent on here, and I'm even thinking of making this my main platform, I also, in making this my main platform, may be doing more than just my Project Pan and Get Ready With Me's and makeup videos. I might do some videos about my cats. Like for instance, these feeders that I'm thinking of getting, I have so much getting on my teeth right now, but the feeders that I'm thinking of getting, I have seen like no reviews across the internet about them except from the official brand of them. So I was like, hey, maybe I can be the one to review them so people can see, do they actually work? Are they helpful for, you know, keeping food aggression and food stealing in cats to a minimum? Again, I've seen other RFID feeders with reviews and stuff. Even every time I've Googled looking for reviews of this specific feeder, outside of what I've seen on Reddit, there have been no reviews, no like video reviews and everything. So if I do spend $500 on cat feeders, just know you're gonna get a video of, I spent $500 on cat feeders to see if they're worth it. I spent $500 on cat feeders so you don't have to, because I literally can't find any information about them, or hardly any information about them actually being used on the internet. Let me know what you think. I do want like actual, and I know a lot of people sometimes watch videos on their TV, not their phone or computer or somewhere where you can comment, but if you can come back to this and comment and let me know genuinely how you would feel about seeing different types of content, like literally all of my life, or honestly a lot of the same stuff that I would do on TikTok, which was, you know, chatty things, talking about my life with herpes, talking about dating, all of those things. If you want that over here, please let me know, because I would love to do it, but I just don't want to do that and then no one give a shit. Anyway, that's the end of this Chatty Get Ready With Me. This is the look that we've got going on. Let me show you the completed look, and I actually need to wipe off my glasses because they're very blurry right now. This is the completed look without this front little light that kind of blows things out a little bit, but helps me when I can't see otherwise. But anyways, again, let me know what you want to see. Let me know how you're feeling. I hope you guys are all staying safe and healthy wherever you are when you're watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.